Parkinson's disease is a chronic progressive movement disorder. The progression of the disease can be rapid, or it can occur over a long period of time, sometimes for decades. It's a very individualistic disorder, with the severity of symptoms and the progression of the disease varying from person to person. The disease is characterized by resting tremor, rigidity, impaired balance, diminished coordination, and a slowing down or loss of spontaneous and voluntary movement. Difficulty swallowing, gait disturbance, difficulty with speech, and sleep disturbance are also among the list of physical manifestations of the disease. Treatment of Parkinson's disease is aimed at controlling symptoms, with the goal to maintain as much independence in the client as possible. But Parkinson's does not affect just the physical. Depression and anxiety can accompany the disease. As the disease progresses and symptoms become more pronounced, social relationships are impacted. And the spiritual dimension is impacted as well. So, in effect, as Herman, a nurse educator, says, no person is untouched physically, psychologically, and/or socially by the disease. I would also add spiritually to that list. In this video program, we will seek to understand the experience of the person with Parkinson's disease, and in particular, we will focus on the spiritual dimension. Two people with Parkinson's will help us in this task. Alice, who was diagnosed 15 years ago at the age of 40, and Robert, who was diagnosed 2 years ago at the age of 56. Both have noticed a progression of the disease, but both currently live independent and full lives. With respect to spirituality, if health professionals were to encounter Alice or Robert in their practice, the first place to begin would be with what the concept of spirituality means to each of these people.
Spirituality is an essence of what my life is about, really. It's an expression of like a relationship with God. It's like it's a part of you. But I feel without it, things would be different. There wouldn't be maybe contentment in your life.
Spirituality, I think, is the basis of our existence. Everything comes from one origin, and we come from that origin. And I think deep in our hearts, in our deepest heart, we try to get back to where we came from. Nature is a very, very generic way of telling us that something didn't come from nothing. It was all created by a single theme. I guess a musician would say that. It came from a single theme. And I believe God is that theme.
By just asking this simple question, what does spirituality mean to you? The health professional would know that both Robert and Alice believe in a supreme being, God. Both describe spirituality as being the essence or basis of their existence as human beings. Even with minimal assessment, there is clear indication that spirituality is a positive force in both of their lives. Robert goes on to connect spirituality with nature, a recurring theme that we will see in many of his comments in this program. To further assess the spiritual dimension, the health professional would try and identify how spirituality is nurtured and expressed in both Robert and Alice's lives.
I do an awful lot of things that are connected with nature. I mostly go for a walk every day out in the woods. Every day is a new adventure. You never know what you're going to find, what you're going to see. If people are getting on my nerves and I'm upset with people, I just go off into the wilderness because there's peace there. Beautiful peace that you can't express and you can't explain. You try to explain to people, but you can't. Everybody's looking for peace. And I find God and peace in the woods. I grow bonsai trees. I have for many years. I collect them. I go to the supermarket and buy fruits and vegetables, or fruits and exotic fruits, and say, can I grow this? And I take them home and I've learned how to grow it. It took me 30 years to know how to grow a mango, but I now have a mango that's 3 feet tall, a mango tree. I've got palm trees growing now. I have a avocado tree growing. I have a pineapple growing. So nature is everything to me.
But going to church on Sundays does a lot for me. And I do music. I just like playing hymns, but I like playing other songs as well. Actually, music is a big part. And I just feel good when I go to church. Well, I play hymns, for myself, but I play country and rock. And I use instruments of guitar and keyboards, actually on a daily basis.
I like to express my spirituality in my artwork. I like to show people who I am. I want to show people how simple nature is, yet how complicated it is, how pure it is, and how rough and raw it is. And to bring that into public view, that's my challenge. In my artwork, I try to, again, replicate nature. I make walking sticks. I'll take an old dead tree that's growing off in the bogs, and there's 100,000 of these things. The tree is 60, 70 years old. It's dying. I want to take that old dead tree and bring it back to life, make it useful again. I used to like to sing, but because of my neurological disorder now, I can't sing anymore. When I was in better health, I used to work with children and tell Bible stories to children. That is my goal, to do things, to treat people like that, to help them deep down.
There is a wealth of information in both Robert's and in Alice's comments that would be helpful to a healthcare professional. Both mention that music is a way to nurture their spirituality. Note that Robert is no longer able to sing because of the effects of Parkinson's disease. We can easily see how closely connected Robert is to nature, a known source of spiritual expression and nurturance. And both allude to religious practices as being important to their spirituality, in particular attending church and conveying Bible stories. The impact of Parkinson's disease on the person's life is multidimensional, as already alluded to earlier in this program. The person must constantly adjust his or her life and life goals accordingly. Often this process is accompanied by loss and grief. As Herman puts it, the unpredictable nature of Parkinson's disease requires the person to deal with uncertainty on a daily basis, much like dealing with treacherous seas. Not only can the person's experience of themselves change, but also others can respond differently to them.
Parkinson's has changed me, not in the way I want, and not necessarily me, it's the people around me. At work, if I'm carrying something heavy, my gross motor skills work fine. I can carry as much as I ever carried. But if I'm at work and I'm carrying something heavy, another guy will come up and pick it up for me. So take it off your shoulder. You don't need to carry that. I have to write in big block letters now, on purpose. All my movements have to be large.